I the a-hole for telling my daughter that if she and her husband can't afford IVF, then they can't afford a child? This might seem harsh line, but to provide some context, my daughter and her husband have been dealing with infertility for years. They've tried a number of options and IVF is their most recent one. The first round was paid for by me, but it didn't work. Second round was paid for by her dad. That too did not work. It got obviously emotionally and mentally exhausting having to get a negative result after another, so I suggested they take a break and they did. Months later, they visited me and said they were ready to try again. I said that was great and wished them luck. But turned out my daughter was expecting me to cover this round. I was taken aback. I mean, yes, I do have money like my son-in-law pointed out, but it's not about me and what I have. It's about them and what they have as future parents. My daughter looked confused, so I explained that to me, it seemed they're not ready. Because if they can't afford a round of IVF, then they can't afford a child. My daughter got offended, and her husband told me all I had to do was pay for it and let them worry about the rest. I declined to pay, which caused an argument between us. My daughter said that I was being cruel to speak to her and her husband like that. I said I think they're not ready and I'm just being honest. My son-in-law took over the talking and told me that I was just hiding behind the honest bullcrap, because that line was the most heartless thing he and my daughter had ever heard. I apologized that they misunderstood, but he told me I was being selfish because I had kids, and now I'm robbing them of this experience. I assured him that the last time I checked, I wasn't responsible for bringing grandchildren to this world. I've done my part in raising my children, and their problems are theirs alone, even if it seemed harsh. They left and my daughter was crying. Then her husband emailed me about how disappointed and let down my daughter felt because of what I said. I wanted to call her, but I'm waiting for her to calm down a bit and I can apologize. I'm unsure, so am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Your son-in-law told you he knows you have the money? Wow, I think you've been generous enough. Not the a-hole. I have to wonder, how come he doesn't have his hand out to his parents? The audacity of these two coming around like Opie has $15,000 burning a hole in her pocket every time they ask for it. Not the a-hole. My sister went through round after round of IVF and just about everything else the doctors had to offer, and successfully. When I was about to embark on fertility treatment, she gave me wise advice. Before you start, decide at what point you will stop. Because fertility clinics will always dangle before you another thing to try or another round of IVF again and again, ad infinitum. It's up to the couple to be realistic about what they can afford financially and emotionally. It seems that this couple has hit their limit, sad though it may be. This is great perspective. I've never thought about it this way before, but it makes perfect sense, especially with how much many clinics seem to push additional services these days. Especially unfortunate considering how extremely emotional and vulnerable people will be when it isn't successful. Not stay home. Wow, the entitlement is strong with these two. Sounds like you're correct. They're neither financially ready nor are they mature enough. Sorry and good luck. My parents used IVF to conceive me. My parents made sacrifices to save up for it, budgeted and picked up shifts, etc. It was rough at a time, I'm sure, to come up with that money, but they did. And that discipline and sacrifice is exactly why they have always been amazing parents. Being a parent isn't easy, and I think Opie's son-in-law and daughter lack the emotional maturity a good parent should have when they can't grasp how absurd these demands are. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend to shut the heck up in front of my whole family because of the comment he made about my sister's pregnancy? My sister, female 36, and her husband suffered from infertility for a long time, and yesterday we found that she's expecting, which was amazing. We were all happy for her because we know how much this meant to her and her husband, as they've been through so much heartbreak and disappointment in the past. She decided to gather the family and make the announcement at my parents' house. My boyfriend and I were invited too. We didn't know about it right away till post-dinner, when my sister got up from her seat, held her husband's hand and made the announcement. We, the women, all got up to congratulate her. Once we sat down, my boyfriend seemed puzzled. He tried to talk to my sister for a bit, then asked her to tell him how old she was again. My sister hesitantly said 36. He made a face and said, Wow, didn't know women at this age can still be functional when it comes to breeding. Sudden silence took over. My sister looked down, and then her husband lashed out at my boyfriend asking what the heck his problem was. My boyfriend tried to mumble something, but that's when I loudly told him, "Shut the hell up." He looked at me in shock, and my family stared at him. He seemed very offended and mad. He quickly got up, took his keys, and rushed out after saying, "Excuse me," which my mom replied, "Excuse you?" I apologized to my sister, but she started crying. So I was mad. I went home and had a fight with my boyfriend. He yelled about how I belittled him and insulted him in front of my family by telling him to shut the hell up. I told him what he did was not okay, and it ruined my sister's long-awaited announcement. He said he was giving facts, not personal opinions. I told him I did the same then. He got more agitated and said I owe him a huge apology after I insulted him publicly. I replied that he should have held his tongue. Facts or not. He went outside and then started giving me silence till I apologized for what I said. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. What facts does he think he was just saying? The fact that he's completely ignorant about women and fertility? He should be embarrassed. A friend's grandpa used to say, if you don't want to be embarrassed, don't do embarrassing things. Words to live by. Not the a-hole. Really think about if you want a guy that calls 36-year-old women non-functional and refers to pregnancy as breeding. That's objectifying as heck. What an a-hole. And before people think I'm talking about it being harder for women to get pregnant as they get older, I'm referring to his phrasing and the fact he thought that was something that was okay to say. I mean, he's also wrong in general. Getting pregnant at 36 is not really much more dangerous or difficult than someone 5 or even 10 years younger. After 40 is when some risks increase more dramatically, but they are also manageable for the most part with regular medical care. Not the a-hole because his opinion was awful, wrong, and frankly not asked for and unnecessary. Not the a-hole. He said something really inappropriate. You told him, appropriately, to stop talking, but let's look further into why he's upset. He claims he is upset that you disrespected him in front of others, and he now feels that his reputation is damaged, belittled, insulted, damaged pride, instead of supporting him as a couple. He doesn't even mention what he said, and does not include consideration for how you felt. You felt belittled, insulted, and highly embarrassed that the person you chose to spend your life with and to build a future with would say something so inappropriate in front of your family, about your family member at a moment of good news, that your pride and reputation was damaged by his behavior and your choice in partner. You can get up and leave, which he did, but you don't get that choice because it is family. You can do it in a moment, but you have to face them again because they're family. He uses the defense as giving facts. He literally used "I thought," which is an expression of personal thought process. Ask him if he knows what a fact is, what an opinion is, and how to express them with words. If he is able to, then ask him to apply his logic to his behavior and word choice. And yes, opinions can be based on facts, and facts are just statements that can be proven true or false. So there can be false facts. And he likely just assumed something was a fact to form his opinion, so it was an opinion based on false facts. He still demands an apology for disrespecting him in public? Tell him you do not owe him a damn thing. You did him a favor. 2 favors, actually. You stopped him from making another inappropriate statement/claim which improves his chances of forgiveness. And you made it appear that you were addressing the issue privately. So they are more willing to forgive him for his mistake, with the assumption that he now knows what he did was wrong. No, he does not deserve an apology. He needs to thank you profusely and to apologize to each family member. And not one of those "I'm sorry." No. He needs to look each in the eye, say "I'm sorry," and explain how he understands what he said was wrong, how bad his decision-making was, in detail, and how you helped him understand this. Then he needs to thank you for making him grow into a better version of himself. I know this is a lot, and it's only recommendations, but if you take my advice/breakdown and he refuses, seriously consider dropping him. If he's like this now, either he will never grow up or he will take about 30 years longer for him to become a better person than a normal person does. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for taking my mom's side when she called my wife a gold digger? I know the title sounds horrible and I feel weird because this is the first time I've ever sided with my mom over my wife. So my parents, divorced, are loaded. People sometimes think this means that I'm rich, but my dad hasn't given me anything since I was 21. And my mom stopped gradually but has not given me the same help she has given my sister. A home, cars, a trust. My mom doesn't know I know about this. I'm not saying they owe me anything, just establishing that I'm middle class. We got together as a family recently. This is very rare because my wife and my mom do not like each other. Someone brought up gold diggers, nothing in relation to my wife. My wife made a comment about how it must have been hard for me to date because women probably wanted my money. My mom responded, "What money?" My wife was like, "Well, there was a certain lifestyle." And my mom got an attitude and was like, "What money? Do you mean my money?" At this point, my wife got annoyed and tried to drop it. But my mom told my wife that she needs to pick her words carefully because that sounded kind of like a gold digger. My wife looked at me to defend her, and I normally do, but honestly, I get what my mom was saying. Also, she said it sounds like, which I feel is different from directly calling her a gold digger. My wife asked me if I was going to say anything, and I said to let the conversation go and that money was never my money. My mom proceeded to get pissy about how she feels my wife thinks we are getting that money to will, and that we need to have no expectations because she has put a lot of thought into it. At this point, I told my mom to drop it as well. I thought the rest of the day went fine, but when we got home, my wife was upset with me and said I should have defended her. She feels it was worse because the kids were there and I set a bad precedent. I'm torn, but just in regards to the money, I get what my mom was saying. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Your wife was empathizing with you and you demonstrated exactly the mindset she was being critical of. And Opie inadvertently told his wife she sounds like a gold digger for empathizing with him. And that's okay because they didn't say/think she is one directly. My significant other's parents were like this. Just poured money and opportunities on his sister but kicked him out at 17 and shipped him off into the military. Didn't even bother to teach him basic skills. If I stood up for him and he didn't have my back, I would have gone nuclear. You're the a-hole, OP. A big a-hole. Give your wife a hug for me and tell her I'm sorry she got such awful in-laws. You're the a-hole. Both you and your mother. Your wife was talking about your family having the appearance of wealth. That must have attracted some sleazy women who are only interested in that. She obviously wasn't referring to her own interest in your mother's death or inheritance or whatever your dark minds went to. The fact that you both jumped to conclusions reminds me that wealth does not bring class. You're the a-hole. Your wife was just making an observation. She never said that she dated you because of the money. I don't see why your mom immediately jumped in with attitude about her money. And then your wife tried to drop it and your mom wouldn't let it go. So yeah, I think you should have defended her. Unless you actually do think she married you for your money, which you say you don't have. I don't. But the language about the money has been a point of contention for years. And two people refused to speak to my wife because she continuously used the words family money. I'd say the phrase family money is 40% of the reason my mother doesn't really speak to me these days. And I've talked to my wife about how she needs to not think about it as my money because it will never be mine again. But you were raised in a wealthy family. For a good chunk of your life, it was family money. You had opportunities and an upbringing that a lot of kids only dream of. Even if you were not benefiting from these things now, how is your wife supposed to refer to this wealth you experienced? Is your mom only angry that she's not being credited as owning the money? Is your wife making presumptuous statements that you will one day inherit the money? I don't get it. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend she actually couldn't draw? Hey guys, I'm 16 female and my sister Amy is 18 female. My sister and I are really close. We are rather similar too. Example, having the same interests. But what made me different from her was that I love art, and I'm an artist. Drawing is what I'm best at, and I spend several hours a day drawing. Amy never cared for art, and she isn't good at it. For background, 4 months ago, Amy was forced by her form teacher to join an art festival. Since she couldn't draw, she begged me to draw something for her. I accepted under the condition that she wouldn't flaunt this art outside of the festival as hers. I spent over 80 hours drawing my best work, and Amy was overjoyed. She won gold in the festival, and I was really happy. Now, about 2 months ago, Amy found a boyfriend, long distance. He loves art, so she told him she was an artist. He actually never asked for a picture of her drawings until now, because he asked for a picture a few days ago. Amy, without asking for my permission, showed the art I made for her festival. He was amazed and said she was a professional artist. The funny thing is, Amy actually never told me any of these things. Her birthday was yesterday and her boyfriend posted something really sweet on Instagram for her. He made a slideshow of her pictures, and guess what? One of the pictures was the art from the festival, as well as another of my work. I felt really hurt and confused. I'll admit that I was jealous. The post was full of comments amazed by her artistic talent, and well, I just felt betrayed. This is where I might be the a-hole. In a fit of disbelief, I messaged her boyfriend and said that the art, they were all my works. I had pictures of me drawing those, and I showed him. He was shocked and mad at Amy for lying to him. He ended up telling her he needed time to reconsider their relationship, as he thinks trust is the most important factor. She found out what I did and went berserk. She yelled at me for destroying her relationship and making her seem like a liar. She said because of my jealousy, I made her lose her boyfriend. She went to stay at a friend's house, and I feel really freaking guilty. Amy was so happy with her boyfriend that I could have kept my anger in check. However, my mom told me it wasn't my fault and that Amy messed up her own relationship. Am I the a-hole? So your sister is a liar and she's angry at you for outing her as a liar? Definitely not the a-hole. I hope you guys patch things up. But if you play silly games, you win silly prizes. I think anyone would be rightfully upset about their siblings stealing their art and attempting to pass it off as their own. Mad at Amy for lying to him. He ended up telling her he needed time to reconsider their relationship, as he thinks trust is the most important factor. I think that's a wise choice on his part. That's the thing with liars. You cannot ever know if anything they say is true. I would think, well, if they're comfortable lying, claiming someone else's art is theirs, what else will they lie about? You're not the a-hole and didn't make your sister seem like a liar. She is a liar. Yeah, just follow up with, how did I make you seem like a liar? Because her only answer is, because you exposed my lie, or some version of the same.
Update. Am I wrong for divorcing my ex-wife over kids and now refusing to be a part of her son's life? Original post. I want to preface this by saying that I have no intentions of getting back with my ex, and I'm in a very happy relationship with my now fiancé. And I'm sorry this is long. I just wanted to add all the context in, and I'm not the best with words. I, 46 male, married my ex-wife, 45 female, when we were 26 and 25 respectively. At that time, we were both on the fence about having kids. I knew since college that I wanted to retire early, and my dream of having financial freedom was what really made me realize that kids didn't fit into the life I wanted. I was trying to find the right time to talk with her about it, but over the next few weeks, she started dropping hints that she wanted kids. She started showing me photos of her friends' kids, commenting on our nieces and nephews, joking about her getting or being pregnant. That one freaked me out, and even bought me a book on the joys of fatherhood that she thought I'd find interesting. I sat her down and asked if she wanted kids, and she admitted that over the years, she had grown to want a family. We had a conversation about it, and I realized that neither one of us was going to change our minds. I didn't want to keep her from what she wanted in life, so I brought up divorce. She really didn't want to divorce and kept trying to get me to want kids, but I stuck to what I wanted and we ended up separating. I obviously still loved her, but that's why I wanted to divorce. We were still young, and she could find someone to have the family she wanted with. I didn't want her to resent me for forcing my life choices onto her. Even after I filed for divorce, she still didn't agree with me and dragged it out as long as she could. So the divorce took almost 2 years. I dated over the years, but never really found someone that I could see myself sharing the rest of my life with, until I met my now fiancé 4 years ago. Apparently, my ex-wife struggled with dating as well and hasn't remarried yet. She has a son, now 11, but the kid's dad isn't in the picture. She recently reached out to me and asked if we could meet to catch up. I talked with my fiancé about it, and she thought it'd be a great way to clear up any bad blood between us, so I agreed to meet up with her for coffee. Things seemed to be going well until she brought up her son. She asked me if I was willing to be a part of his life as a masculine influence, and I told her I was glad that she was able to have a child, but that it still wasn't something I was interested in. She tried to change my mind by saying that we could be a family again. She kept trying to convince me, and I kept trying to change the subject. I admit I got frustrated because things weren't going as I hoped they would, and I told her that I was happy with my fiancé and that I was not interested in her. She started to insult my fiancé, so I left. I thought what happened was crazy. When I agreed to meet with her, it never even occurred to me that she might want to get back together. Considering how long it's been and, I'm not single, she kept messaging me, so I blocked her, and I don't plan on talking with her again. I was talking with my sister and her husband about it, and they said that while I'm totally right for rejecting her now, it was an a-hole move on my part to divorce her in the first place, and that I'm now being an a-hole again by not being a part of her kid's life. They both agreed that my ex was right for wanting to work it out. They said it's my fault that her child doesn't have a father, and that if I had given having kids a chance, I would have changed my mind. I just don't agree that kids are something one should compromise on. I don't see how it's possible for it not to be a bad situation for everyone involved that breeds resentment. I don't know my ex's child at all, and I don't agree that it's my responsibility to step up just because his bio dad didn't. I asked some other friends and family, and they agreed with my sister. So now I'm not sure if what I did was wrong or not, and I was just wrongly justifying it to myself. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Damn, people give me headaches. So it is your fault that she has no father figure in her son's life because you divorced her before he was conceived with someone else? Because you didn't want kids? That makes perfect sense if you are a moron. It sounds like she is, as well as your sister and her husband. Not your wife, not your kid, not your life, not your problem. You should suggest that your brother-in-law fill the role as you go low contact with them and no contact with the ex. Oops, I forgot to say you are not wrong. You said exactly what I came to say. The mental gymnastics of OP being at fault for ex-wife getting knocked up by a deadbeat after he divorced her is staggering. Not the a-hole OP. Anyone who thinks that you should step up for the absentee dad is an a-hole. She wanted the child and got what she wanted, not what you wanted. If your brother-in-law thinks the kid should have a masculine influence, let him step up to the plate. It seems to me that since baby daddy bailed, she wants you back and not just for a role model. Stick to your guns. I'm about 98% sure about who the kid's father is, and if I'm right, then I don't really blame him. I obviously feel bad for the kid, but the daddy was, in my books, still a kid as well. The guy I think is the father is currently about 30, I think, but he was a recent high school graduate when my ex got pregnant. My ex and him got engaged, he moved away suddenly and nobody could get a hold of him. And then it came out that my ex was pregnant. He was in a trade apprenticeship program before he left, but I don't know where he is or how he's doing now. Not wrong. You did the right thing in divorcing over having very different expectations for your lives. If you divorced her over you not wanting kids, I can't understand why she would think that you would want to or be willing to fill a fatherly type role with the kid she did end up having with someone else. Your sister and brother-in-law are nuts. Kids are not something to compromise on. They are a 2 yes, 1 no situation. She used my social media posts of me with mine and my fiancé's nieces and nephews as proof that I wasn't against kids. I like kids, I just don't want any of my own. She thought I had changed my mind about kids because of the posts and said I was being a hypocrite by refusing to be in her son's life the way I was in my nieces and nephews' lives. Now for the update. My ex-wife somehow got a hold of my fiancé's phone number. She contacted her yesterday and made false accusations that I cheated on her when we met up for coffee. Obviously, my fiancé didn't believe her and just blocked her number. This morning, my sister showed up uninvited to my fiancé's house with her kids, demanding to talk. We don't live together, and I was not there. My fiancé originally wasn't going to let them in, but my sister sat on her porch and refused to leave. It was cold and windy, and the kids didn't have coats on. Since it's not the kids' fault, she ended up giving in. She put on a show for the kids and made some coffee to prepare herself for whatever crap my sister was going to say. My sister started a whole spiel about how if she, my fiancé, really cared about me and not just my money, then she would do what's best for me and leave. My sister claimed that since I'll always be connected to my ex, I will be forever unhappy if I'm with anyone else. Apparently, if my fiancé doesn't leave me, it's proof that she's only with me for my money, and that it's obvious that my ex and our child, which, WTF, it's not my kid, would actually use the money in a godly way. My fiancé laughed in my sister's face and just stared at her until she left. My fiancé and I are both a little confused by what she said. 1. I am better off financially than my fiancé, but not by that much. 2. I'm also not religious, so even if I did get back with my ex, me and my money would still not be godly. 3. We know she's crazy, but again, why did she think her plan would do anything? After my sister left, my fiancé called me and told me what happened. I called my sister to tell her, 1. To leave my fiancé alone, and 2. That she was crazy and delusional. She defended herself by saying that she knew what was best for me and was just protecting me from going through with the wedding since my fiancé was obviously taking advantage of me, and that since I'm under her spell, I can't protect myself. I again told her she was crazy and delusional and told her that I never wanted to hear from her or anyone who's siding with my ex again, and to please pass that message on. Every time a family member or friend messages me about it, which has been 6 just since this morning, I ask them what their thoughts on the matter are, and if they side with my ex or sister, I block them. Divorcee is somehow worse than single mom who didn't marry the baby daddy? Mental gymnastics gold to the entire lunatic family. She was still married to OP in her heart, you see. It was, only her vagina, ovaries, and uterus that strayed. Everyone knows those woman parts are just evil anyway. You can't count on those. She needed a baby, so if the fiancé wasn't going to help, she had to work it out on her own. But now she has a baby, that need is fulfilled, and she is free to go back to OP. No joke, I feel real bad for the baby's father. I bet he is dealing with some serious mental fallout from this woman. They said it's my fault that her child doesn't have a father. Sis and brother-in-law did some serious mental gymnastics to reach that conclusion. Glad OP is no contact with them. Based off the age of the person OP thinks is the father of that kid, OP's ex got pregnant when she was 34 by a 19-year-old. Ew. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex that I adopted a child? I, 38 female, have been single for 6 years. Though never married, my ex Eric, 41 male, and I share a 4-year-old son, Bryson. We broke up shortly after Bry's 3rd birthday, but we're hoping to get back together. I got pregnant thereafter, but unfortunately miscarried. I wanted to salvage whatever I thought we had left, but Eric decided to move on. He is now married, and he and his wife have a daughter with another child on the way. Since our breakup, I haven't seriously dated, but I've always wanted another child. With that, I secretly started the adoption process a 1.5 years ago, and now I'm the proud mother to a beautiful baby girl. I never told Eric about this because he once told me, in no uncertain terms, that our relationship only extended to our son. The adoption process was long but very personal for me. I only told my mom and best friend, who were largely supportive, though realistic about the challenges of being a single mom to 2 kids. However, when Eric found out about my daughter from our son, he was angry. He said that finding out that I adopted through Bri was childish, and that he should have been the first person to know, since adding a baby to my household could affect our son. He said we owed it to Bri for the 2 of us to have a sit-down conversation with him about this. I informed Eric that I had already had a conversation with Bri and that he was excited about his little sister. I also told him that what he was proposing would have been awkward, since he and I are no longer together, and he's not my daughter's father. He then got angry and said that, as a single mother, Bryson's lifestyle shouldn't change because of a new baby, even though he and his wife now have children of their own. For context, I make close to $80,000 before taxes, not including child support. I let Eric know that I am more than financially stable to care for 2 children, and was honoring his wishes that we only focus on Bryson, but he still called me selfish and accused me of holding a grudge. Am I the a-hole? Edit to add. I'm truly sorry for any confusion, but I wanted to update the post to provide clarity on the timelines. My ex and I broke up in 2019, right before the start of the pandemic. We were not together when we had our son, but we're still having sex. Bryson is 4. He was born in 2021. I miscarried in 2023, and by late summer, early fall, Eric started seeing his now wife. They married just last year in 2024. Their daughter is 7 months old, and she's pregnant again. I don't know how far along she is. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Does he notify you of any pending things, like pregnancies, that would affect your son? Not at all. He and his family are moving from our home state to Tennessee, and my ex never asked how I felt about this, since Tennessee is a state away, and either he or I would have to possibly drive to drop our son off or pick him up. It was his wife who has been more considerate when asking about travel arrangements, to be honest. He moved on, got married, and had more kids without consulting you. Why should you have to inform him about her personal decisions? As long as Bryson is happy and taken care of, that's all that matters. Not the a-hole. They call them exes for a reason. You don't have to tell him anything at all, other than what the schedule for pickup of your son is. When he moved on, he gave up his rights to be involved in your life, except where your son is involved. Last story. Am I wrong for going no contact with my wife after finding her online dating profiles? I, 37 male, and my wife, 37 female, have been in a long-distance marriage due to her work for the last 1.5 years. We have 2 kids, 7 and 4 years old, who live with me. My work and the kids' school situation did not allow for us to relocate with her. We see each other on average every 2.5 months and initially talked every day, video chatted with the kids. Our main goal was to build up our savings, as we also looked for better paying work in the same city and for her to build enough experience for her resume, as she had been out of work since we started having kids. The job opportunity was very good for that. Unfortunately, with each visit, her behavior had been setting off my alarm bells, and this month I discovered her dating profiles when she visited. This visit was particularly shocking for me because, for the first time in our 9-year marriage, she did not want to be anywhere near me, was extremely paranoid and protective of her phone, avoided any time to talk about serious matters, or participate in any activities with the kids. She seemed distant and off, to the point that even the kids noticed. Earlier in the year, I had caught her in an emotional affair, and upon confrontation, I gave her the choice to go or stay. I wanted to work things out, start on a clean slate, but I would have been willing to let go amicably because of the kids. She chose to stay, and that was supposed to have been the end of that. I did some digging and got her phone when she was asleep, and discovered that she was not only flirting with multiple men, but talking with her friends about incidents and encounters which she regrets and needs to move past, as well as confessing that she is not putting effort into our marriage. The dating profiles are what set me off. I immediately screenshotted and sent to myself as much as I could in the short time I had the phone, and played it cool until I dropped her off at the airport. When she was airborne, I sent her a WhatsApp message with the screenshots, telling her I knew and wishing her good luck in her new life. I sent the same to her siblings and close mutual friends and proceeded to block all but a few. I asked them to tell her older sister I will provide them access to the children as required, but to consider me out of their lives. The kids have not noticed any change. They had kind of moved on from their mom not being around, and I am going through the motions wondering if I overreacted, or if I was a bad husband, or if I was wrong for just ghosting after all this. I am still so angry, feeling betrayed, and cannot even stomach a conversation with her. Yet I have had her in my life since I was in my early 20s. Am I wrong? You're not wrong. You should seek legal counsel and get a divorce. Hope you're doing well. If you're in the US, any debt she incurs while married to you is half yours, so get your legal divorce ASAP. You may have a good argument that they are separated, depends a lot on the state. In particular, being separated over a year with her having the intent to leave her affairs may not even be considered adultery. This woman gave up on you. She did that every time she made a profile, went on a date, or started something with someone else. Just leave, man. Find someone who respects you and your kids. These guys were fools for thinking a long-distance relationship with a 4- and 7-year-old was feasible. I never would have signed off on that. What? I definitely would expect my wife to uphold the vows that were exchanged. Guess I'm old-fashioned and would expect loyalty. Whether someone stayed faithful or not, I would not have signed off on a long-distance relationship with small kids. Insane. Obviously, the extra money was not worth it. It's pretty normal for many families around the world. In my own family, I have a truck driver who'd go for months abroad. Now it's what, 30 years of marriage? Kids and first grandchild? Any immigrant relationship too. Husband going to new country to settle, and wife joining in. And with letters only, no messenger and no video calls. Or military or business people. But of course, you'll hear more about the failed relationships than successful ones. You can cheat at home, I assure you. Update. My wife refuses to accept our divorce and thinks she's trying to trick me. Original post. My wife, 29 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 4 years. And up until a year and a half ago, things were fantastic. Our marriage began to deteriorate after there was a significant drop in sex between us. Not intimacy, just the actual sex part of the relationship. We would still cuddle and have deep, intimate moments talking and just being around each other. But she kept rejecting my attempts at taking things further past kissing. Now, we have had no problem communicating, so I made sure to address it early. We talked and made adjustments. We both made sure to stay in shape. We tried being more adventurous, we went to couples therapy/counseling, and even tested both of our hormone levels. Everything was normal. Each solution would work for a little while, and then we'd be back to having it maybe once a month. I asked her several times if she was no longer attracted to me, to which she denied every time. I asked her if I was falling short in the relationship in any other way, to which she said no. Well, about a month ago, she got back from therapy session and told me that she believes she's asexual and that's the reason for her libido being non-existent as of late. I was definitely confused because we had such great sex for a while in the beginning of our relationship. But her telling me that she's now asexual was heartbreaking because everything else is great. Obviously, I'm not going to force her to do it. So we had a long conversation about our relationship, and I came to the conclusion that we should get a divorce. I say I because she immediately rejected the idea, said we would figure something out, and wouldn't talk to me about it anymore. I don't know what to say, so I dropped it. Well, 3 weeks went by without sex, and I decided I had to do this for my own mental well-being. So I filed for divorce and had her served with the papers. Last week, when I got home from work, she was going about the day like nothing was wrong. I asked her if she signed the papers, and she flat out said, "We are not getting a divorce." Then changed the subject and acted like things were normal. Obviously, I thought this was crazy, so I stopped her and said I couldn't be in a marriage devoid of sex, and I mentioned that I was being incredibly fair with our divorce. She can keep the house that we bought and paid for with cash. She paid 1/3, I paid the rest. I'd take all of the debt, which isn't much. We'd split our savings and investments in half, and she could keep 2 of our 3 paid-off cars. I only wanted to keep my sports car. Thankfully, we don't have kids. I love her and want her to be comfortable, and I have no problem starting over since I make a good income. But she won't budge or talk about the divorce. This brings us to 2 days ago. I got home, went to our bedroom, and found my wife's friend, 27 female, naked in our bed. I immediately shut the door, said sorry, and went looking for my wife. I found her in the kitchen and asked what her friend was doing here, and she said that she was here for me. I put 2 and 2 together and said that I am not having sex with other women in the place of the woman I chose to marry. She was adamant that I could sleep with her friend whenever I wanted, and that her friend agreed to it. I couldn't believe things had gone this far, so I went back to our bedroom and asked her friend to leave. I packed a bag and have been staying in a hotel nearby since that night. My wife, her mother, and her sister keep calling me, but I'm just not interested in hearing what they have to say. This feels like a trick. I just want this whole thing to be over. Does anyone have advice? Is this some kind of ploy for alimony? We do have a prenup. Should I just contact my lawyer and try to force the divorce? I'm really uncomfortable with this entire situation. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. You did right, bro. Let your attorney handle this. Do not have sex with anyone until your attorney says you're in the clear. That's my only course of action right now. I'm going to look for an apartment tomorrow. Also, why are you offering her so much? Split the marital property equitably and move on. If you even have the slightest inclination that she's trying to set you up, then don't just roll over and let her have everything, because that won't be enough for her and her attorney. She has been wonderful to me otherwise. I don't feel like she should be punished for finding out who she is. I want her to be comfortable because she doesn't make nearly as much as I do. I can bounce back with no issue. She'll still have to work to provide for herself, unless she marries another high earner or becomes one herself. A fresh start doesn't scare me at all. Now for the first update. I'll try to keep this as concise as possible. I feel overwhelmed, so I probably won't bother with another update after this one. I don't know. My wife came to my hotel last night, and we talked about everything. She told me the full truth and what's been going on in her mind. A few of you commented this in the last post, so you were right. She has always been asexual. She and her whole family have known this since she was 16. Apparently, this is the reason why her last long-term relationship of 3 years ended. He broke up with her after the sex between them diminished to being non-existent after the first year. She told me that it's easier for her in the beginning when emotions are running high, but she still needs to force herself to have it. I knew they broke up due to irreconcilable differences, but I didn't ask for details, nor did she tell me. After a lot of apologies and crying, she told me that I was the first person she was able to tolerate sex with for so long, and that she did enjoy it a handful of times. But after a while, she still felt like she was being violated. I broke down after hearing this and started kicking myself for not catching on to any of this. She said she tried her best to please me as much as she could. She still doesn't want a divorce, and she doesn't want the house, cars, or the savings. She just wants me, and is ready to do whatever it takes to keep me. She even said that she would sign a post-nup stating this. As for her friend, she was there during her last breakup and helped support her through it. My wife went to her after I brought up divorce and talked things out. Her friend suggested that she opened a relationship for me, but she said she didn't want me sleeping with strange women. So her friend volunteered herself to be the one that sleeps with me. My wife thought this was a great idea, which led to the fiasco at our house. I won't comment on her appearance because it doesn't matter, and I don't blame the friend. My lawyer got back to me. You are all right. I don't need her permission, but I will have to wait if I want to push it through. I asked her why she lied to me this entire time, and she said she was tired of being rejected after revealing she was asexual. So she convinced herself that she would be able to force herself to have sex during the relationship. the hormone testing, the sessions in couples therapy, and all of our solutions were just her buying time to find another way around it, or give herself enough time to build up the strength to start regularly having it with me again. Our conversation ended with us holding each other in bed, crying for a couple of hours. No, we didn't have sex. She pleaded with me to hold off on the divorce so we could look for a solution together, and then left my hotel room. I'm now sitting alone, typing this freaking post. I guess I found out that we don't share everything with each other. Thank you to everyone who has messaged me directly. I'm still trying to get all of them. I don't know what I'm going to do. Second update. I've tried to read every comment/message and take to heart what most of you had to say. Also, please stop messaging me. I can't respond to everyone. It's too much. I'll make this as short as possible. After my last update, my wife asked me to meet with her about a week later to discuss things. I've been staying at an extended stay hotel since that night with her friend. We met at our house and talked for a few hours. She started off with a ton of apologies for how she acted, for lying about her sexuality, and for not taking my sexual needs more seriously. Before I could say anything, she presented a side post-nup agreement she had drafted with a lawyer, stating that she doesn't want anything. The house, the cars, the savings, everything. I felt like the biggest a-hole for thinking that she was tricking me for more money. I asked her if she was serious, and she told me to take the post-nup with me and sign it when I'm ready. I still haven't signed it. It's in my backpack. I told her that I still think divorce is our best course of action, and that we both deserve to find someone who matches our needs. She still refused and borderline begged me to reconsider. She started crying, and so did I. Seeing her like this was devastating. I told her that her finding other women to sleep with me wasn't going to work. What if I develop feelings for them? What if I get one of them pregnant? Do we expect her to get an abortion? She said we'll figure it out as we go along, and pleaded with me to give her more time to work on other solutions. She set up appointments for sex and hormone therapy and is seeing a sex guru. I said that it sounds like we're going through the same things again, but she was adamant and pleaded with me to wait. There were more apologies on both sides, and we kissed for a while before ending the conversation. Then I went back to my hotel that night. A few days later, I tried texting her but she didn't respond, so I called her dad. I'm avoiding her mother and sister since they are saying the same things as my wife. Her dad told me that she moved back home and has been holed up in her room since our talk. She called out of work. He told me that she's barely eating, bathing, or talking to him or her mom. He asked me what I was going to do, but I didn't have an answer for him. He just said he understands and that he would be here to talk anytime I wanted to. So I went back to our house, and a good portion of her stuff was gone. The whole place feels empty. I've been sleeping in one of the spare rooms. I'm planning on flying to my mother's house in a couple of weeks to spend time with my family and decompress from this entire situation. I'm still on the divorce side of the fence, but I guess there's no rush. Thank you to everyone for your insight and concern. Seriously. I know we're all strangers, but most of you have been a huge help to my mental health. Seriously, thank you. I think I'll just make a quick edit to this post once we reach a resolution for anyone who cares. She said, we'll figure it out as we go along and ask you to please give her more time to work on other solutions. No, you should figure it out now and hold her to that. It's her we'll figure it out as we go mindset that got you both into this situation. I don't even know her, but this one pattern of her behavior keeps repeating in your posts. She avoids the hard questions. These aren't faraway hypotheticals, but legitimate possible consequences of the plan she's suggesting. If you have any interest in saving this relationship, then you need to hammer out the details before you act. She sure won't. It's a rough situation, but if having an intimate physical relationship with your wife is important, I think you know what needs to be done. It sucks for everyone involved. Godspeed. Sex in a relationship is like the toilet in your house. It's not the first thing you mention when talking about it, but if it's not working, then it's immediately noticed. Now for the third update 10 months later. Hey everyone! In hindsight, I regret making these posts because I think I received too many pieces of advice. I keep thinking I should have just handled it internally with just family. I don't regret my decisions. I just wish I had given myself more time to think. Anyway, here's the update. I'll keep it short. The divorce was finalized months ago. Our house was sold along with one of the cars, and my ex-wife is still living with her parents. I had a little more than 2/3 of the proceeds wired to her account, but the last time I talked to her dad, she hadn't touched a dime. I was informed that she checked into a mental health clinic, but I don't know how long she was there or what her current state is. I changed my number, but her dad has emailed me a few times to check on me throughout this last year, which breaks my heart because he's a great man. Him playing both sides of the fence like this really made everything go a lot smoother. Other than not warning me, which I honestly don't think was his place to do, he's been a huge help. I moved back to my home state to be closer to my family. I may leave to go to another state again. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. I feel numb from this whole thing. I'm not much of a drinker, so I've been smoking a ton of pot and working out to occupy my mind. To everyone who didn't get a response from me in my messages, I'm sorry, but there were just too many. I responded to as many as I could mentally handle. I think that's it. I can't imagine that there would be any additional questions, but I'll answer whatever I can. Wow. Hope you both find some type of lasting happiness. You moving on. Your ex hopefully finds some peace. I'm not so sympathetic to his ex-wife. She lied to him for years, misled him, and dragged us out, taking years of his life away, trying to live her version of happiness at his expense. It's unfortunate she's taking it so hard, but what she did to him was cruel and selfish. Are you happy? That's all I would like to know at this point, brother. You've been through a lot. I'm happy to be alive to experience the highs and lows of this existence. I'm happy to move on to the next chapter of my life. Thank you for asking. Good to her, man. Just out of curiosity, do you see yourself ever capable of being friends with her again? Or is the pain too strong to ever be around her again? I view her differently now, although I still love her. I don't know about the distant future, but for now, there's no way. Last story. Broke up with my fiancé and canceling the wedding after she admitted to having fantasies of doing better than me after her weight loss journey. My fiancé, 27 female, and I, 27 male, were together for almost 9 years. I proposed to her a couple of years ago, and I really loved her a lot. After my proposal, she started her weight loss journey and asked if we could set the wedding date only after she reached her goal. I supported her through her journey, and I was really proud of the progress she made. She lost more than 100 pounds, and while she still looked great before, she looked gorgeous after her journey. She was also upfront with me and admitted she was getting a lot more attention now. It was the most attention she had ever gotten in her life. It did make me somewhat insecure. She even said that a really cute guy at the grocery store complimented her tattoo once and asked for her number, even though he could see her engagement ring. However, my fiancé told me she rejected him. One night, when she was super drunk, she admitted she sometimes had dreams of getting a hot, tall, finance guy. But after seeing my reaction to that, my fiancé instantly apologized. A lot of these insecurities were building up in me, and I did speak with my best friend and ask her if this was normal. She said it wasn't normal at all, and that what my fiancé was doing was not okay. Last week, I admitted to my fiancé that I couldn't do it anymore. My fiancé was shocked, apologized a lot, and started crying. I was surprised by her reaction because she had admitted to wanting a better guy than me. My fiancé told me she was just proud of the progress she made and that I was the only one she loved and would ever love. She kind of freaked out a lot and asked if I was influenced by my best friend. I told her honestly that yes, I did seek external advice because my insecurities were just eating me up inside. My fiancé told me she would never do it again. She was crying a lot, and it looked like she was having a panic attack. I was honestly worried about her, so I told her I would think about it because I just wanted my fiancé to calm down at the moment. I think what I said just shocked her a lot. However, the next day, when she had calmed down a bit, I told her my decision was final and that I had just lost a lot of love for her. Now for the comments. In my mind, there isn't a woman alive better than my wife. I don't care if I was back to my competition weight and making $250,000 a year. There is no woman alive I'd want more than her. Your ex-fiancé lost some weight and got some attention, and her first thought was that these other men were better than you? Yeah, no, she never really loved you. When you love someone, no one is better than them. Who wants to be with someone who pretty much said they settled for you because you were all they could get at a time? Exactly, that's what I was thinking. She pretty much admitted to settling, but that she was okay with it. Exactly. She was planning on monkey branching, but OP cut her off, and now she's landed face first in the mud. OP, I'm glad you caught the red flag and protected yourself. I wish more people acted on red flags instead of ignoring them or coloring them in.